seated. Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Harry Bruce, and I have the best job in the world because I'm the Dean of the University of Washington Information School, or iSchool. Now, I'm just wondering whether any of you were expecting a basketball game this afternoon. Well, we're going to do something a little like that. This is the first time we've had our Convocation in the stadium, and I thought you might be up for this. So we're going to divide the stadium in half. This half are going to say, go. On my direction, not yet. This side are going to say, iSchool. We're doing the same with the faculty on stage. Students, you'll just have to figure out what you're going to do. You're well educated now, you make your own judgments on this. And at the back of the room, obviously, this side is going to be go, that side, iSchool. Are you ready? All right, this is not an occasion to be shy. I want you to show off. Be extreme extroverts. Are you ready? You've got to wait till my point. We're going to do this a few times, and then I'm just going to do something that will make you stop. Go! Thank you very much. That was fantastic, wasn't it? That only just came to me as I walked up onto the stage. Why don't we do this? Of course, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to the 2016 Information School Convocation. I'd also like to welcome folks who are joining us this afternoon via live streaming from locations across this country and around the world. Convocation is a celebration of achievement, and certainly we should begin by recognising the achievement and accomplishments of our graduates who are receiving their degrees. That's why we're here. For each of you, this convocation, the awarding of your degree, is emblematic of your aspirations and personal growth, a reward for your hard work, and the raw material for your future successes. You're the centre of our attention. Congratulations from all of us. And it's very important that we also recognise and celebrate the fact that this personal achievement is the result of a great deal of support. No individual reaches significant goals in life without the support of friends and family. This support comes in many forms: financial, emotional, role modelling, inspiration, mentoring, encouragement, and teaching. Before we begin our ceremony, I'd like to ask the graduates to acknowledge the support that they have received from iSchool faculty and staff, their friends, their family, and from one another. Graduates. To begin our award celebration, I'd like to ask Paige Sundstrom to come forward on behalf of our MLIS students to present the 21st Century Award. Paige Sundstrom is the co-president of the Association of Library and Information Science Students. Her professional interests include academic librarianship and reference instruction. Paige.
Hi everyone, my name is Paige and I am co-president of the
I'd now like to ask Jonathan Lee to come forward on behalf of the Informatics student body to present the Eisenberg Award. Jonathan Lee is entering his senior year and is president of the Informatics Undergraduate Association, IUWvideo. His main interests are information assurance and cybersecurity and data science. Jonathan.
I remember asking many of you undergraduates if you were ready for graduation, and I guess the prevailing theme in the responses. Almost everyone said that it hasn't hit me yet, or it just doesn't feel real. Even as you're sitting in your seats now, I bet it still feels bizarre. This is real. In a few moments, it'll be you walking down that aisle, and you up here getting recognized for your accomplishments. Every single one of you has had a significant impact on someone sitting near you, and every single one of you will be missed next year when you're welcome in. Whether it's pursuing an even higher education, backpacking across the continent, going directly into the workforce, or simply taking a break at home watching Netflix, it's entirely up to you. You're done. There are no more academic deadlines, no more capstone cramming, no more doing extra credit just to pass the class, and best of all, no more pulling all nighters at the tea for 344. Now it's your turn to go out into the world and explore, but as you do so to pursue your passions, never forget where you came from. If you look around you, you'll see your loved ones, professors, and friends who have all worked tirelessly to help you get to where you are today. So let them know how appreciated they are. Every now and then, drop by to say hi, just tell them what you've been up to. Just as importantly, however, never forget where you're going. This is when you become a real adult. Maintain that passion for life and reach for the clouds even when you're already at the peak of the mountain. The informatics community is a unique thing that we have that distinguishes us from other programs. The weekly networking nights, quarterly game nights, and the annual iLife are all fantastic opportunities to forge lasting relationships with others. Just yesterday at Bonfire, there was a large group of friends, old and new, having a great time on the beach, kicking back and running some sports. And tomorrow, we'll be gathering at the barbecue to celebrate the ending of another great year. In addition to facilitating great events, IUWvideo has an opportunity once a year to present my work to a student that we feel has strongly contributed to our major. This student must have both fostered that sense of community that we have and represented the major world as a whole. Therefore, it was a difficult decision to make, as you're all wonderful, but we all agreed that there was one particular individual that has consistently made an impact. Time and time again, this student has conveyed how passionate he is about the major and its people. I first met this individual as my Info 343 TA, just after I got into a major. He's one of the most intelligent and happiest guys I know. He always has a huge smile on his face and bright light people's days, and is always with the extra 2 miles. And having been in the program for 3 years, he's also had the opportunity to maximize the benefits of being in the informatics program. He's been able to interact with 3 separate cohorts, all of which has had a positive impact on him. He's an academic wizard who is TA for multiple courses, including a graduate course. There have been many times when I've seen him in the TE lab, staying late at night, helping others with their homework, sometimes even putting his own homework off just to make sure that they can understand the concepts. In addition to internal contributions, however, he has also helped the major by participating in essay writing workshops for prospective students and mentoring others as part of an independent study. Next year, he'll be working full-time for Microsoft, and we're confident that he'll still achieve great things. I consider myself very fortunate to follow my friend. So without further ado, on behalf of the Informatics Undergraduate Association, it's a pleasure and honor to present this year's Eisenberg Award to the one and only baby Karen, Kaylee Flores-Stinson.
This year's award was determined based on 3 core tenets of an outstanding MSIM student: dedication to the values embodied at the information school, a commitment to empowering peers, and displaying vision in the information management field. I have personally had the honor of witnessing this year's Archer Award recipient live these values in the classroom and in their willingness to guide and mentor first-year students in what it means to be part of this academic community. I believe their qualifications are best acknowledged, however, through the comments that were submitted by their peers when completing the ballot for this year's award. While the quantity of praise exceeds my time limit, I would like to share just a few testaments to this student. A peer writes, "His professionalism and sincerity is an inspiration to our cohort. He can analyze a situation calmly and advise on the right course of action." Another goes on, "He is an industrious, diligent hard worker who expresses genuine interest and knowledge in advancing the information security practice at University of Washington." Speaking to his leadership, a peer adds, "He brings great dedication and energy to his work. He's been an ambassador of information security and pursued his passion while providing his peers with assistance at all times." And finally, I cannot think of a better candidate for this award. He selflessly acts in ensuring his peers are exposed to the best opportunities possible, both within the iSchool and outside. I couldn't agree more, and it is my great privilege to present this year's Archer Award to BK Star Top Class.
I'd now like to ask Professor Ricardo Gomez to come forward on behalf of the Information School faculty to present the Ruth Warden Award for Student Excellence in Library and Information Science, the Faculty Award for Student Excellence in Information Management, and the Faculty Award for Student Excellence in Informatics. Professor Gomez.
Thank you. This is such a great group of students that we have too many awards. The first one, the Ruth Warden Award for Student Excellence in Library and Information Science. No suspense this time, goes to Erin Rosowitz. Erin, as you come up, Erin is an outstanding residential student who has purposely stretched herself to take online classes, education experience at the iSchool, and has excelled in both modes, meaning residential and online. She has been an outstanding class member, contributing to both in-class and online discussions in depth. Come on up. She always brings extremely unique perspectives based on solid academic rigor. You wrote a lot of things, so I have to read them all. While attending school, she has been an intern with the KCLS Public Library System, King County Library System, focusing on children and teen services, where she has been a volunteer with troubled youth, LGBTQ issues, homelessness at various camps, as well as providing finger plays, stories, and songs to present during weekly food bank story time. As part of her volunteering and commitment to youth, Erin has provided readers advisory, book talks, and library services at YMCA Camp Terry Library. She is the iSchool CAYAS, Children and Young Adult Services Representative, a position she has held for 2 years. And as a student, she has served her professional community by presenting at the Washington Library Association, presenting Book Talking the Best in 2015 and 2016. This goes on. Erin is also a recipient of Bellevue Friends of the Library Endowed Scholarship in Library and Information Science and Genevieve Cobb Scholarship in Librarianship. She will continue to serve this professional community after graduation, taking on a broad position for CAYAS at WLA in 2016 and 17. She is a role model for our students as she begins our professional career. Big hand for Erin. The class of 2016. Now, Informatics, the Faculty Award for Student Excellence in Informatics. The recipient this time is Vivian Woods. Vivian, as you come up. Most college students know how to learn what their professors teach them. Some have a vague idea of when to use what they're taught. Vivian is one of those rare breed of students that have both the intelligence to learn quickly and the wisdom that says when to use what they've learned. She's going to be one of those professionals that will not only be standing in front of a room of professionals, teaching them how it's done. Vivian is consistent, overachieving student who has a passion for learning and engaging technology. Our faculty have been particularly impressed with her ability to absorb complex coding concepts and quickly apply them to project deliverables with authority and precision. Vivian? Vivian Wood. And lastly, the third award from the Faculty Award for Student Excellence in Information Management, goes to Cameron So. Cameron is highly engaged in academic, professional, and leadership endeavors at the iSchool. His academic record is strong. His professional trajectory with PwC and Professional Network speak to the quality of his work and the level of engagement with the business community. In his role as AIMS president, he represented the program with the highest level of professionalism. He is very active in his role. He designed and executed several professional and developmental activities for MSIM students, including a roundtable with Boston Consulting and a diversity luncheon to increase the diversity of MSIM students. Lastly, Cameron has been especially valuable during this academic year in communicating the challenges students face and work with the faculty and chair on addressing those challenges. He represented the students well, and he did so with professionalism. Cameron, thank you.
It's now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Sean Kane, who will be presenting our Convocation address. Dr. Kane, a 2011 graduate of our PhD program, is currently an assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science at the University of Colorado, Boulder. Dr. Kane is this year's winner of the Distinguished Alumni Award from our school, which is the highest honour an alumnus or alumna can achieve. Receiving this award means you have earned the immense respect of your fellow alumni and information practitioners. It's awarded in recognition of the achievements that bring tremendous distinction to the iSchool and demonstrate how UW iSchool alumni are shaping the information field and the professions. While at the iSchool, Dr. Kane worked with Professor Jake Wobrock on accessible touch interfaces for mobile computing. From 2011 to 2014, he was an assistant professor in the Department of Information Systems at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, where he initiated successful projects at the intersection of accessibility and mobility. He has won multiple Best Paper Awards, including 3 from ACM Chi, the premier conference in human-computer interaction. Dr. Kane recently moved to the University of Colorado Boulder, where he has won a prestigious Sloan Fellowship. His superhuman computing lab explores ways to make mobile devices easier to use, especially for people with disabilities or people in distracting environments. I'm very impressed with Dr. Kane's work to make the tech world a more accessible place for everyone. His work delivers high-impact solutions to accessibility challenges. He personally exemplifies the iSchool strategic priority of working in human-computer interaction for social good. It's my great pleasure to introduce the 2016 iSchool Convocation Keynote speaker, Dr. Sean Kane.
Hey everybody, make some noise if you think it's kind of hot in here. Yeah, like one of the previous speakers said, this is real, it's really happening, it's not a fever dream. So I have all my notes on my iPad here so I don't mess up, so just bear with me 1 second. But hi, I'm so excited to be here with all of you today. It's really awesome. Gotta hit this button, okay. So I just want to start by congratulating all of you for making it here today, and also all the family members and friends and everyone else who helped you get here today. I'm incredibly proud to be here to congratulate my colleagues in the Informatics, MLIS, MSIM, and Ph.D. programs today. And if, like me, you're walking before you've actually finished your dissertation or thesis, just act cool. We'll get through this, and you can go back to writing as soon as possible, I promise. And you will get it done. So I want to talk a little bit about my experience at the iSchool, hopefully not too much. But I started at the iSchool PhD program in 2005, and when I interviewed for the PhD program, we hadn't yet graduated a single PhD student. And by the time we had started in September, we had only graduated one. He is up here on this stage somewhere. There he is. And now when I look back as faculty and as someone who advises students about applying to graduate programs, it could be a little scary, right? I mean, I think we're still at the start of something, and I think of being part of the iSchool as still being at the start of something bigger. And I still sometimes feel a little bit nervous when someone asks, what is the information school, or what is the degree in information science? And a lot of times my first answer is, well, how much time do you have? It can be kind of overwhelming to think that your area of expertise is something as broad as information, which describes literally everything in the entire universe. Information is everywhere. You can't yawn without getting a mouthful of information, as my grandmother always used to say. And so saying that you're a graduate of the information school isn't necessarily by itself all that descriptive, right? There are people graduating today who will go off and be librarians and teachers and software developers, people among us who are going to fund startups, who will do great work in public service, and many of you will also guide the generations that follow this one. But since you're here with me today, you probably agree that the flexibility of and the breadth of what we take on here at the iSchool is one of the best things that could have happened to us. Part of being a graduate of the iSchool is you get to help define what that means, the work that you've done and the work that you will continue to do. And even though today marks a transition in your time at the iSchool, you'll continue to be part of that conversation of what we do and what we can do. This isn't a great metaphor, but you can think about your degree as a big box full of Legos, right? You've got a lot of pieces and tools to build anything you can, and whether you follow the instructions laid out in some career path or decide to make your own designs, hopefully you have the tools to do that today. And I know everyone here is capable of doing amazing things. Many of you have done many amazing things, and you'll continue to do that. So personally, I'd have a lot more fun, and I'd be a lot less nervous if I could sit in the audience and let you all tell your stories. But since I'm the one up here, I want to say just a little bit about who I am and what I've been up to since I graduated. So I was here, well, not here, but at this event 5 years ago. And in my work, I look at how we can design and build technology to empower people who are disempowered. That's really the core of what we do. And in my case, I've looked primarily at how technology can support people with disabilities and living and working more independently. I'm very proud of the work we've been able to do. As one example, with my advisor, Jake Wobrook, we made a real dent in improving the accessibility of modern technology, and especially smartphones, for people who are blind and visually impaired. This was really difficult work. It took years of working within the community, designing and testing prototypes, running studies to collect data and learn how we could do even better. When we started the project, we actually got a fair amount of feedback saying we shouldn't bother trying to make touchscreens usable by people who were blind, that we should just do something else. And I remember a particular reviewer who once said that some of the things we were trying to do were impossible. And they were wrong, and I was right, and here I am. They're not here, so they can't offer their opinion about why they said that, but history will show that I was right. But I'm really grateful to Jake and to the community of the iSchool who really encouraged me to stick with problems that I thought were important and thought were right. We've had some other really great successes. We designed some really cool technology for people who use power wheelchairs with the goal of saying, how could we make using a power wheelchair so cool that you would be jealous that you didn't have one? We worked with the Hubble Space Telescope people on creating 3D printed star charts so blind kids could learn about outer space. And I've had many opportunities to work with students to teach them how to design technology that can level the playing field for people with disabilities. People often ask, probably more than I think is necessarily socially appropriate, why I work in this area, right? And there are a few reasons why, and I just wanted to say a little bit about that. So one reason does come from personal experience, but one of the things that I learned here in the years that we've been doing this work is that doing work that connects to something that's personal for you or has some power for who you are, it doesn't have to define you, and it shouldn't diminish the work that you do. Often it means you have a set of experiences or perspective that can really add value to that work. You don't necessarily need to work in those areas that speak to your identity directly, but you might have a really valuable perspective on that. A second reason I think that this work is important is that there's just such a great need and so many great opportunities. A lot of technology is still really terrible to use if you're too old or too young or don't speak the right language or if you have any kind of disability. And it doesn't need to be that way. A lot of the time, technology isn't accessible not because it can't be accessible, but because we just don't have the right knowledge or we don't intervene at the right time to actually make this change. So if you collectively, but also everybody else here in cyberspace can do a favor for me today, it's to go home and look at the artifacts that you're bringing into the world and make sure that you're not excluding people who don't need to be excluded. So whether that's your resume or your web page, that project video you put up on YouTube or whatever kind of creative work you're doing, think about whether there's someone who might be excluded and fix it. Add captions to your video or a text description to your photos. Make sure your web page is accessible to a screen reader. And whatever work you're doing when you go forward, remember to make it accessible so that everyone can enjoy it. And a third reason why I do this work and why I've done this work is because of my time at the iSchool. I think there's a certain kind of work that we do here, and I think we all value here, which is to bring together people and technology and information resources and use all the tools that we have at our disposal, whether that's design skills, skills in social sciences, information management, or technology, to solve problems. I've learned how to do this kind of work at the iSchool and having a lot of fun with it, and I hope that you have fun with the work that you do too. So this is my first time giving this kind of talk, and I think I'm supposed to say some inspirational stuff. So I'll try to do that a little bit, but hopefully not too much. After Harry invited me to give this talk, and well, the first thing is I got really nervous and said, what did I do? Why did I agree to do this? And then I Googled how to give a commencement talk, and I read some really good ones. Toni Morrison and David Foster Wallace and Steve Jobs and J.K. Rowling. And I thought about just stealing what they wrote, but I thought, what if somebody looks it up and then we all look bad, right? It'd be embarrassing. So I thought a little bit about what messages I wanted to pass on today from my time at the iSchool that might be useful to you in some way. And a lot of these speeches focus on giving knowledge into the brain, pouring knowledge into the brains of the graduates, and telling you how to savor this moment and what to do and what to think. And of course, I definitely shouldn't do that, right? I think if you're here today, then you've demonstrated that you have the intelligence and the passion to do amazing things. You already know how to work hard and set and achieve goals that are meaningful to you. And so the thing that I will tell you is go off and do something that's fundamentally yours, that leverages your skills and your passion to have some impact on the world, okay? And you know, I learned a lot here in my time at the iSchool. Through working in user-centered design, I learned to be a better and more thoughtful designer and engineer, and choosing what things to work on and how to make things. I learned to, by doing research, I learned to be more observant, to be better at seeing how people act, to be a better listener, so that I could do a better job thinking and working through solutions to people's problems. And I learned to be a more careful thinker and communicator. And I learned to think about power dynamics and justice and how the things that we can do can lift people up and make the world a better place. And I do think that these and others that really do have some core values that we share as members of the iSchool community, and some values that are inherently iSchool. So I want to just talk about three ways that I think about some of these values, and then I'll wrap up. We can go back to clapping. The first is our ability as people who are in the iSchool community to reach across the aisle and to communicate to people with very different backgrounds, skills, and experiences. You know, even among folks who are here with us today, we're an incredibly diverse group, and as I'm sure you all know, many of us will end up in jobs where we have to act as the glue between even more diverse stakeholders. And I see as one of our core values that we know how to enter into these kinds of environments and engage with diverse groups, to act respectfully and with an open mind, and help people work better together. The second value that I treasure about our iSchool is that our community understands that our commitments to personal values and to higher goals strengthen the work that we do rather than weaken it. I work in an area that explores fundamental contributions to research and human-computer interaction, but also engages with communities to address real problems that they have in their lives. And the area where I work happens to be one that has personal significance to me. There we go. And sometimes people who don't know better think that working on something that's both technically innovative or socially impactful means that the bar for either one or both of those is going to be lower than it would be otherwise. But I think we know better. I think we know that that shouldn't be the case, that our personal values can help us push ourselves to do even better work, and to connect what we do back to real people and to the world. And the third I would mention is just our commitment to finding and using the right tools for the job. You know, what tools do you want to use to have an impact on the world? It may be the library system, it may be public policy or law, it may be ethnographic research or building technology, building prototypes. And I think that as members of our community, our commitment is not necessarily to technology X or research method Y, but to picking the right problems and problems that are meaningful to us in the world at large, and to find the right way to move things forward. And you know, right now there are so many interesting problems to solve in the world. We live in a time where technology and society are changing so quickly, and are interacting with each other in ways that are sometimes scary, but mostly exciting. And there are so many opportunities to use the skills that you've gained here to have a positive impact on the world. And to speak on behalf of the entire planet Earth for a moment, the world needs people with your skills and your beliefs and your commitment to solving important problems. And so I'll end this talk by just saying I'm so excited to see what great things you're going to do in the world. I'm humbled to be able to share this moment and this day with all of you, and I know everyone at the iSchool is really proud of you and excited to see what comes next. Your commitment to the iSchool is a lifetime commitment, and not just because the Alumni Association will now call you every week for donations. You probably already have a couple of voicemails from them. But the work that you do and the positive impacts you have on the world are part of the story of the iSchool, and will build this community further and far into the future. So that's the end of my talk. I hope everyone has a really great day. I hope you'll take some time to think about what you've learned here at the iSchool and how your experiences here will help you take on the next great challenge, whatever that will be. So thanks for listening, and congratulations.
So thank you so much, Sean, for inspiring our students and indeed inspiring all of us this afternoon. Well, we're now going to recognise our candidates for the several degrees awarded by the Information School. Professor Ricardo Gomez, please present our doctoral candidates.
Thank you, Harry. There. I am standing in for Adam Moore, who is the chair of the PhD program. Would the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Information Science please rise? Dean Bruce, it gives me great pleasure, on behalf of Adam, to present you these two fantastic candidates for our doctoral program.
On behalf of the entire Information School family, I congratulate you. We know the years of commitment, hard work and sacrifice that are necessary to complete a doctoral program. We are very proud of you and know you'll have successful careers. We'll take this moment to acknowledge each of you individually. I'd like to ask Dr. Rachel Ivy Clark and her advisor, Professor Alison Carlisle, to come forward so Dr. Clark can be invested with her doctoral hood. The title of Dr. Clark's dissertation is "It's Not Rocket, Strike Out the Rocket, Library Science, Design Epistemology and American Librarianship." Before she joins the faculty in her seat on stage, Dr. Clark will sign the Book of Graduates, as will all our candidates this evening. I'd like to ask Dr. Paul Lee and his advisor, Professor Andrew Coe, to come forward so Dr. Lee can be invested with his doctoral hood. The title of Dr. Lee's dissertation is "What Makes a Great Software Engineer?" Professor Jinha Lee, please present our MLIS candidates.
Would the candidates for the degree of Master of Library and Information Science please rise? Dean Bruce, it gives me great pleasure to present these wonderful candidates.
On behalf of the Information School, I congratulate each of you on the effort and dedication you've shown in completing your degrees. Please be seated until you are conducted to the stage to be hooded and recognised personally.
Diane Clark. Susan Shi.
Ashley Crane. Teresa Arias. Brian Lindsay. Lauren Weidlich. Alden Lee. Nicole Martin. Aaron Gordner. Martha Karavitas. Jeffrey Lopez. Kathleen Magellan. Neil Parker. Zachary Wyman. Jeffrey Brown. Jolene Kinney. Frank Branch. Brian David. Crystal Miles. April Ibarra. Frederick Woodward Pratt. Peter Oliver. Ian Hawley. Kelly Colt. Thank you. Linda DeBruin. Brittany Honan. Robin Lanning. Heather Gugich. Jacob Shepard. Greta Pittenger. Michael Wallenfels. Catherine Ehlers. Rose LaFollette. I got it. Rebecca Priggett. Catherine Hansky. Amelia Klaus. Michael Bezzosi. Leslie Meyer. Adam Lathrop. Ruth Hellman. Sarah Pine. Nicole Gustafson. Lauren Ritchie. Willa McAllister. Aaron Speaks. Chelsea Cooper. Annie Christensen. Stephanie Torres. Alma Lopez. Linda Garcia. Jasmine Lynn. Minyoung Huang. Lee Wilkinson. Jay Logan. Jessica Tonias. Aaron Orwig. Muriel Wheatley. Rebecca Franzak. Becky Leparati. Ambrogino Justin. Camilla Jenkin. Anne Liu. Savannah DeHart. Victoria Villalobos. Alexandra Walker. Yulia Kolnisakova. Elizabeth Morris. Lilium Rajan. Thomas Disher. Reed Garber Pearson. Allison Rybel. Rachel Kopel. Elizabeth Tegler. Rachel Wishkowski. Catherine Mayer. Marissa Gunning. Caitlin Stevens. Chris Lackner. Ilsa Allison. Emily Spracklin. Emily Thompson. Emily Whitaker. Lots of Emilys in a row. Emily Grant. Catherine Hardin. Crystal Welliver. Robin DeCook. David Guerrero. Catherine Lovejoy. Yvette Iriba Ramirez. Andy Gallegos. Claudia Sanchez. San Nu. Jinshan Tsai. Minchin Chai. Yifan Chang. Johanna Talbot. Cindy Gaither. I will now read the names of those who are unable to attend but are joining our celebration online with their families and friends across the nation and around the world. Laura Blazik. Diane Bohatch. Tiffany Vonetta Louise Camp Johnson. Tiffany Colson. Sarah Elizabeth Dunaway. Rachel Winter Durant. Kate Elizabeth Emery. Kian Flynn. Genevieve Elizabeth Gebhardt. Kimberly Ann Holling. Dylan Holmes. Allison Horner. Sammy Kursell. Alice Nelson. Kat Redness. Trisha M. Rhodes. Jose Rivera Olds. Emily Cease. Mary Frances Watkins.
Dr. Sean McGann, please present our MSIM candidates.
Will the candidates for the degree Master of Science in Information Management please rise? Dean Bruce, it is my honor to present to you the future information leaders of the world, the MSIM class of 2016.
On behalf of the Information School, I congratulate each of you on the effort and dedication you've shown in completing your degrees. Please come forward to be hooded and recognised personally.
Cameron So. Ashwin Satyanarayan. Fernando Centurion. Adam Lewis. Brett Fye. Congratulations. Wen Hon Sao. Congratulations. Kanika Bhargava. Anika Gadgo. Aubrey Walter. Anthony Peters. Nicole J. Nora. Avneet Chand. Adam Wilhoit. Anya Haliotis. Elizabeth McCready. Sumit Sharma.
So it's Kartike Bharti. So only Kartike Bharti. Yes. Kartike. All right. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah.
Kartike Bharti. Courtney Harris. Ritwika Rudra. Deepa Siddharsha Rao. Rashmi Sharma. Divya Krishnan. Jorge Retamales. Grant Woods. Alex Filipkowski. Samantha Coulter. Kate Evelyn Souza. Pregya Sahu. Aditya Gandhi. Yogesh Sharma. Jyotsna Saxena. Bibin Varghese. Amanda Thompson Meza. Karkala Naveen Hegde. Surya Vijay Raghavan. Atinderpal Singh Saini. Amar Kohli. Davul Lashwani. Nandita Anand. Spurti Ratakonda. Aditya Kol. Mero Rodriguez, Jr. Heather Moore. Manak Ghosh. Aditi Nioding.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Rob Shaw. Got it. Okay. Dominique Meeks. Sonal Shrivastava. Freddie Mora. Matthew Jackson. Okay, congratulations. Auren Yang. Vinayak Kawatikar. Congratulations. Thank you. I like the purple. Oh, thank you. Gagandeep Singh. Apurva Kulkarni. Nikita Redich. Rahul Biharia. Part Shah. Aditya Kulkarni. Smita Ravle. Pankaj Sharma. Ashay Nirgude. Ayan Chakraborty. Shri Harsha Garuda. All right, congratulations. Bibin Rajan. Ijaz Ahmed. Aditya Kumar. Yizhou Hong. Jishuan Wang. Xiangyu Chu. Jia Yu. Shuiying Niu. Ray Hua. Yun Jae Chao. Yu Zhou Shen. Lee Jane Sean. Yan Hui Huang. Dustin Chiong. BK. Vignesh Sivakumar. Sandeep Bhatt. Nausheen Javed. Namruta Lamba. Kartik. Hayagriv Sridharan. Tang Sun.
Mr. Scott Barker, please present our informatics candidates.
Would the candidates for the Bachelor of Science in Informatics please rise? Dean Bruce, it gives me great pleasure to present these #awesome candidates.
On behalf of the Information School, I congratulate each of you on the hard work and dedication you've shown in completing your degrees. Please come forward to be recognised personally.
Hiram Munn. Sanjay Sagar. Jacob Cook. Morier Breland Jr. Jason Hama. Vikram Tiramulai. Emmett Gosai. Max O'Neill. Ayush Soni. Austin Worley. Harrison McDonough. Alex Schenk. Bryant Taylor. Kevin Yon. Daniel Sebring. Omid Kamia. Walter Cedar. Jenny Chen. Bruce Ng. Marco Chang. Zuli Zhao. Michael Easels. Sure. Kevin Lee. Kyle Uwasa. Daniel Hui. Brandon Tai. Miriam Davis. Vivian Tang. Minerva Chen. Jill Lopez. Taman Win. Michelle Lee. Joy Zhang. Christina Polyuk. Kristen Wei. Eden Gurmai. You bet. Congrats. Cassandra Belaurier. Brian Gula. Nadav Ashkenazi. Patrick Harper Joles. Harpreet Singh. Christopher Sumption. Trent Rosane. William Smith May. Rihanna Mistry. Joanna Kosef. Nathan Boko. Nishant Velagapudi. Congratulations. Rachel Kipps. Jennifer Kong. Roy Gu. Emmanuel Gambliel. Alexis Gregerson. Anthony Zong. Caleb Thorsteinson. Shijir Sogo. Jacob Leedy. Michael Dang. Logan Walls. Theodore Chin. Sean Chung. David Han. Luke Johnson. Jamelin Uemura. Christina Wong. Victoria Wellington. Chenin Mao. Allison Emerald. Timothy Landowski. Garrett Goody. Kevin Rawls. Guion Bai. Patrick Liang. Omar Rojas. Jamie Southafang. Jordan Mundo. Andrew Munsell. Daja Bao. Kevin Horwitz. Kramer Lewis. Madison Ikeda. Autumn Grossel. Tyler Jensen. Natalie McGovern. Ladon Palenk. Megan Stavik. Akash Puri. Andrew Jeremy Kaw. Kenny Raymond. Sarah Hubbard. Ian Palmgren. Raymond Duong. Dahlia Knifey. Sophie Zhang. Catherine Drew. Srinivas Kaparam Ramanath. Sala Northup. Alyssa Huden. Vivian Woods. Hannah Yu. Ivy Wong. Nikki Nikui. Dahlia Sidhu. Alex Gingras. Marcus Scott. Alex No. Brandon Barron. Ria Aurora. Tiffany Tung. Jesse Peterson. All right, here we go. Morgan Evans.
Congratulations.
Mamie Huang. Conrad Zimney. Robert Brooks. Ryan Budnick. Nasise Jira. Annie Tao. Oh no. Holden Stegma. Ross Grambo. Lene Watson. Courtney Melissa Song. Perry Meese. Francis Nguyen. Yan or Yan? Yan. Alice Sija Yan. Vincent Joe Nanny. Benjamin Peterson. I will now read the names of those who are unable to attend but are joining our celebration online with their families and friends across the nation and around the world. Roe Avnon. Surfame Lin.
Why don't we give all of our graduates one last round of applause? Well, as we close this convocation, I think it's clear to all of you that the Information School is about making the world a better place. We do this through our academic and research programs and our service to professional and scientific communities. This community of graduating students and all those who've gone before and will graduate in the future are the instruments of our impact on the world. Through their good work, based upon what they've learned and the values and principles of professional practice that we espouse, the world is made better. So this convocation, like all others, is a symbol of hope and a brighter future. I'd like to thank Tori Gottlieb and Curry Brothers for overseeing, organising and orchestrating the many details required. Thank you, Tori and Curry, very much. I'd also like to thank Jason Curry, who did a lot of the event planning logistics, and Zach Keys, who produced the program, and all the student services staff for their hard work today, along with many iSchool staff who volunteered to make this a wonderful and memorable event for our graduates. Thank you all. And finally, I'd like to give my thanks to my faculty colleagues on the stage who work tirelessly to serve the educational and research mission of our school. Thank you, faculty. So before closing our convocation, it's my duty to ask family and friends to remain in their seats until the recessional is complete, at which time you can rejoin your graduates in the front lobby. So before we march off the stage, there are a couple of things that I'd like to do. I would like to honour two of my colleagues, one who is retiring and the other who is moving on to work at another university. They are Professor Bob Mason and Professor Karine Nahon. Would they please stand? You can remain standing. I haven't finished yet. So it is a tradition of convocations and orientations, indeed it's the tradition of any event associated with the iSchool, that we conclude the event with a rousing rendition of the iSchool is my school. Yes. Now, some of you may not know about this, are the uninitiated. Thank you. The leaders, we're going to start over here. Yeah. So, this small group here are going to just demonstrate for you. They're going to stand up. All right. And this is going to be a quieter version of what we're ultimately going to do, all right? A quieter version. They're going to try to make it even louder than all of us could do. And all you're going to do is the iSchool is my school, because the Wahoo part is going to be completed by Professor Mason and Professor Nahon. Now, this is their big moment. Bob, Karine. Actually, I might invite another retired faculty member, Dean Emeritus Michael Eisenberg, to come out as well, just to give them a little bit of support. All right, you'll understand what we're going to do in just a moment. Are you ready? We're going to do it after 3, and then I'm going to point here. All right, it's got to be impressive. No, it's going to come after this. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Whoa. That was absolutely fabulous. Thank you. Thank you very much. So now it's up to all of us. Parents and friends, family and loved ones in the audience. It's very important that you do this with the greatest enthusiasm that you can muster. I know it's a hot day. I know you've been fanning yourself. I know your hands are now raw with clapping. Just one last duty for the afternoon. Graduates, stand up. All right, if we do this correctly, every one of those hats is going to fly off. You'll blow them right off the heads of our graduates. We're going to start with, I'm going to give you 3 for a count in. We're going to say, the iSchool is my school. We're going to yell it out. And then we're going to say, what was it again, Karine? Thank you. Wahoo. 1, 2, 3. The iSchool is my school. Wahoo! Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.